Greetings.
Greetings. Welcome to Film Gazers, a podcast focusing on the science fiction, horror, fantasy trinity, and 20th century entertainment. I'm Steph.
I'm Jess. We're cousins slash besties. Join us as we reminisce, discuss, and review films from our childhood.
Happy Spooky Shalhouby.
Spooky Shalhouby.
October for the theme itself. This episode will be kind of shutting that door, if you will. And there
Saying adieu.
still will be, though, another Tuesday where normally for our normal scheduling of episodes. And it's going to be, I believe it was like the 29th or something. So it's like right before Halloween. So for fun, we're just going to do a mini-sode each of one of the horror movies that we'll be kind of watching this month. And yeah, and you'll get basically two mini-sodes on the same day. You're welcome.
Nice.
And then
You're welcome.
we'll be starting November's up with Big Back November. We've been teasing it. We finally
hmm
made up our minds. We just wanted something, anything kind of remotely food themed. Uh, and this is something that movies that I think you've seen one of them, but then I don't think I've seen either of them. So it'll be kind of like new to me stuff. So Simply Irresistible is one of them, and Eat, Pray, Love is going to be the wind up to it.
And I felt like I've seen Simply Irresistible before. Like I remember Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Maybe it was you saying you're like, I think I've seen that one, and you for sure have seen Eat,
hmm
Pray, Love.
Yeah, because I love the book.
Mm.
The movie I was very disappointed in.
So yeah, we'll be going into that. I have neither read the book. I had the book, never read it.
Huh.
I don't know. I think I read the first couple of pages, and at the time I was like, I'm not feeling this.
Um, I could see that because the author can come off very like pretentious.
Yeah, if I would have
Like,
got that vibe, usually if a book kind of gives me that vibe, I'm like, I'm out.
hmm I read it at just the right age that it spoke to me.
Yeah. You're a eat, pray, love girl.
I was totally an Pray Love girl. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be me.
So yeah, so I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. And Simply Irresistible, if no one is familiar with it, it's like Sarah Michelle Gellar, and she's supposed to be like basically not a very good chef. And there's some kind of magic crab, is what I read in the synopsis, and I was like, you had me there. So well,
hmm
I'll give
I
that a
was like,
shot.
interesting,
Interesting.
interesting.
So that's what's coming up, guys. Other than that, what you been watching, what you been doing?
Um, I've been needing a little comfort, so I rewatched Botched again.
Yeah, your
I
go-to. I get
saw,
it.
yeah, I don't have Peacock right now, which I was kind of sad about because they have like all of the Botched on there.
Hmm.
But Netflix does have one season
There you go.
randomly, and
It'll
so
do
I
the
rewatched
job.
that one. It did the job. I blew through that obviously. And then
Uh,
they had a like thing that said new season coming soon, and I was like, yes.
there you go. There you
That was
go.
exciting. And then I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine still, and the new Frasier one that comes out once a week. So I actually just watched the newest one with my mom tonight.
Nice, nice. So I get it. Same old kind of
Same old, same old.
song
It's
and
been a
dance a little
very,
bit.
very rough month.
Yeah, we both I we'll say a little bit on here, but not to bring the vibe down too much. We both lost a cat this month.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew and I lost our dear, dear Scala cat. She was the eldest, she was 13. I can't talk about it too much or I might still cry.
Yep.
It was just it was cancer. It happened very suddenly and it was very unexpected. So we canceled our vacation. I know I had mentioned that we might be going to the mountains and blah blah blah, all this stuff. All of that went out the window, and pretty much I've been very comfort watching movies and just trying to grieve and stuff. So, like you. I went to something that wasn't really a rewatch necessarily, but we really got into Columbo during this time. That 70s kind of vibe. And we did watch it when you were kids, so you kind of have that nostalgia. It just felt kind of
Hmm.
comforting at the time. And they're super long, so you can just kind of zone out and just like
Right.
like to it. So highly recommend that. We finally got Tubi, and yeah, I'm like really impressed actually.
Hmm. I told you.
I know I've heard good things from multiple people now. And even other podcasts we've listened to, like shout out to Time Shifters podcast. Like they always bring up a lot of like streaming alternatives. And I'm finally giving them a chance. And I'm really impressed with the selection, and the commercials are not like terrible.
Hmm.
So I can
Yeah,
live
not
with it.
bad.
Yeah, like we watched this movie called Intruder, horror movie like from 1989, I believe. Really good actually. Had Bruce Campbell was like has a little part in it, and
Oh.
Sam Ramio is kind of I think somewhat involved with like maybe production. So yeah, it has a lot of connections with that and kind of Evil Dead and stuff. But it was cool. It was basically like this crew that works in a grocery store, and they start getting picked off, one by one. And had a good little like twist almost. Yeah, really recommend it. That was on Tubi. Also did American Psycho because I had never seen that one actually. I don't know how somehow I missed it. So finally watched that one. Definitely is overhyped. Like by the time I watched it, there's all this lore kind of behind it, and like people really like talking highly of it. And I mean, it was good, but not like that, like not mind-blowingly like, oh my gosh, why did I never see this before? It was fine.
Right.
I
It
did
was
make
fine.
I did make our letterboard for Halloween say what was the line from the movie of like I have to like return some videotapes like or whatever.
I don't know.
I was
I
like I
saw that
thought
movie like one time.
it was funny. Watched a lot of old stuff. Like I've watched a lot. Like I had a whole week off of work still. So I've been watching a bunch of stuff. Andrew's actually been keeping up with me watching it, which for him is like a big deal. He's not a big a movie watcher like we are. So oh, and then we finally saw Deadpool and Wolverine.
Hmm. How was it?
I didn't like it. I thought it was stupid. Like it was like,
Oh,
hey,
really?
you want to see how to beat a really dead horse? Like like that's how I feel. I'm just kind of over Ryan Reynolds shtick. Like I even love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And yeah, that was like a little fun like nod, but like it wasn't. I don't know. I'm just like, I feel like I watch the same movie over and over, like every time almost. Like, oh, it's kind of sappy, but then, oh, it's so dirty. And how many of the same jokes can we make over and over? Hee hee hee. Like, I don't know. I feel like it is at that point of it felt like this is Disney trying to be bad.
Right.
And I just was like, eh. And like I said, the superhero stuff has just been so oversaturated. I'm kind of over it.
How
But
was Blade's cameo?
that I was gonna literally say that's the saving grace of the film for me.
Hmm.
It's the only reason why I enjoyed any of it. I was like, Blade was perfect. Oh, and Henry Cavill had a little part too. So I was like about that. And I'm like, okay.
As
But
Superman or
no, it's someone else. I don't want to give out the too many
okay.
spoilers, I guess, for any of the fun stuff, but just know he is and figure it out from there.
Oh, speaking of Blade, my favorite Chris passed away also.
Oh yes, Chris Christopherson.
Yeah, I was very upset about that as well.
Hmm.
Like it's the end of an era.
It really is, yeah. I don't know where to go from there. Well,
On that note,
in this episode, we watched 2001's 13 Ghosts. It was directed by Steve Beck, Screenplay by Neil Marshall Stevens and Richard D. Ovidio. Story by Rob White, based on 13 Ghosts by Rob White. Produced by Robert Zemeckis, Joel Silver, and Gilbert Adler. Starring Tony Shalhoub, Embeth Davidtz, Matthew Lillard, Shannon Elizabeth, Rod Digga, and F. Murray Abraham. Cinematography, Gail Tattersall. Edited by Derek G. Brechen and Edward A. Warshilka. Music by John Frizzle. And it was released October 26, 2001. So it was a Halloweeny movie. Running time, 91 minutes. And the budget was 42 million. Box office, 68.5 million. So let us get into the little fun facts. This was based on William Castle's 1960 film. You'll probably also be familiar with some of his other work if you've also seen, I believe it was House on Haunted Hill. They were both produced by the same production company and everything. This was supposed to be like a whole little revival.
Yeah, they came out around the same time too, right?
Yeah, just I think a year or so apart.
Mm-hmm.
So the original though film had like a gimmick to it, and this was actually a new fun fact for me. A new fun fact for me. Did I say that? I don't know.
A new fun fact for me.
I was like, did I say that all correctly or did I just mumble it? And then in my
I mean,
head,
I
it sounded
understood.
correct.
I
Okay.
got what you're putting down.
I could just, my brain just totally
My
zoned.
brain. Like I've had a week off. I don't know what
Yeah,
I'm doing.
exactly. So in the original, the gimmick was in theaters, audiences were given some like glasses, and it was like a process called illusion o. And so certain filmed elements of the actors and sets, except for the ghost, had a blue filter applied to the footage, and the ghost elements had a red filter that was like superimposed. So when they went and put these glasses on, and they weren't like 3D where one was each one, it was all the same. So basically, you could choose to see the ghosts or not. So when you put on the glasses, you would see the ghosts.
Okay,
Um,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, which kind of tied in with the movie, because in the movie, in the original, the having a special pair of glasses to see them was like
Right.
part of it. So that all
Right.
was a nod. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I don't remember that when it came out.
No. That was the original 1960 film.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
yeah. So that
wow.
was a very like cool thing back then when they were still kind of experimenting with film and stuff, and what you could kind of get away with.
Nice.
So Steve Beck approached makeup effects artist Howard Beggar with the project. And or Berger, I think it's supposed to be Berger. Berger was very concerned with it being like heavily computer graphics and just kind of like not that scary, for during that time using the computer graphics. We
Mhm.
remember how those looked.
Right.
So that was a big part of this movie that I feel like did make it more fun. Um, was how practical the effects kind of were. So they had a different idea with the director, because he did very much want every ghost to be like physically present on set. Um, it's quoted that he said, "What really intrigued me was Steve wasn't looking at it like, okay, here's this weird guy. One, two, he had a backstory for everybody." Which is true. And this is also available on the DVD bonus features.
Hmm.
I'm going to throw this out there. This is a big reason why I had so many memories of this movie, was because of the bonus features on the DVD.
Right.
And you can watch it, that's still available on YouTube and everything. He made, yeah, like very intricate almost backstories for every single ghost, just about. And he really wanted that to show in the ghost, so he worked really heavily with the makeup effects and all of that, for them to really get the look of
Hmm.
all of them.
Well, to me, that's the most interesting part is the backstory of all of them.
I know. And then when you actually watch the movie, though, you realize, oh, this wasn't really a part of the movie at all. It was just the
They
bonus
didn't use any of
features.
this. Yeah, that was a whole
Like,
different movie. It
I'm
was the
like, you
bonus
could have
features.
made an excellent movie. Um, so during pre-production, Silver and producer Gil Adler toured the New York Science Museum, and that was kind of what inspired them a little bit with the home.
Mm,
It was more than 3 miles of etched glass walls, and a total of 8,500 square feet of glass was used to construct the set for the glass
wow.
home. So then, of course, with everything in glass, it just kind of makes this conundrum a little bit too of filming, all the angles you have to be, very careful of. So no one's standing, even people, they said like crews standing outside could be seen through the house. So you have to make sure
Mm,
everything is clear, or something's going to get in that shot. So obviously there was a little challenge filming just in the set that they chose to begin with. They also didn't want it to be too typical and cliche with the dark lighting and like the more castle kind of setting. They really wanted it to have this modern and vibe, and they wanted to be able to play with the light in the way in which they could with the transparent walls.
hmm
But I mean, I felt like it
But
made it too sterile, um, in my opinion, but they used enough electricity it necessitated its own power substation during filming.
wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, as I kind of mentioned, this was the second of some William Castle films that were being redone. The whole point, I believe, of what Dark Castle Entertainment production that was supposed to be kind of, I think, for these horror movies.
hmm
But it's just between the marketing costs, this film did actually lose money. And it was kind of the beginning of starting to really discourage Warner Brothers or anyone else for that matter for kind of supporting and making these films. The next that was on the list that released was Ghost Ship in 2002, if you remember that one.
Yes, I do.
But
Dave loves Ghost Ship.
okay, but that was an original screenplay. But it was a critical failure. So I believe they just kind of like were like, no. Roger Ebert hated this movie.
No surprise there.
He did praise the production value, which we can all agree. The house did look amazing. Like the set was super
hmm
fucking cool. And he's quoted to say the production is first rate. The physical look of the picture is splendid. But he did criticize the story, the lack of the interesting characters, an overly loud soundtrack, and poor editing. In 2005, he included it in his list of most hated films.
Damn, Roger.
Yeah, I know. So I got most of this stuff from an article that was on Nightmare on Film Street by Chris Vogel, how FX artists resurrected the sinister spirits of Dark Castle's 13 ghosts. Came out. I was going with it. Also,
Oh.
cinema.com and a little IMDb, of course. So with that, Jess is gonna take it away with the you Googled summary.
You Google it. A state-of-the-art remake of the classic William Castle horror film about a family that inherits a spectacular old house from an eccentric uncle. There's just one problem. The house seems to have a dangerous agenda all its own. Trapped in their new home by strangely shifting walls, the family encounters powerful and vengeful entities that threaten to annihilate anyone in their path.
So, when was the last time you'd seen this one?
It's been, when did it come out? 2001? It's probably been shit, maybe 2007,
Dang, yeah,
like 17 years probably.
long time. Um, it's only been a couple of years for me. Like, I want to even say like one or two.
Oh
Because I'm
wow,
pretty
that
sure I
recent.
watched it here. Yeah, because I went into uh I believe it was, I've mentioned it in the past where it was like in 2008, I went on a total binger of like just like some favorite movies from our childhood, kind of when the podcast idea was still kind of, cooking up in my head. And I did or not 13 Ghosts, sorry. House on Haunted Hill. And I had rewatched that and I was like, oh man. And I remember that one didn't like disappoint me. It was like still like, oh, this is not that great, but I still enjoyed it and the nostalgia was there and everything, you know?
Hmm.
And that finally, I guess some years gone by, and then I was like, oh, I always meant to watch 13 Ghosts as well because when I was a kid, I guess I had the DVD. It had to have been because I remember watching those special features a lot
Hmm.
because I was really into, obviously, I'm the fun fact person. So if I had the DVD and there was bonus features and a commentary, believe me, I have watched both of them. I have done it all. So with this, they really do. They talk about all the ghosts and the backstory and all this other stuff. And I just remember thinking it was so cool. Like they put in, it felt like a lot of effort to make this film, like a lot of solid effort, like they had good ideas. Um, so that was
So
something
maybe
that
it
always
was just the editing that made it so.
I don't know. See, I really don't know because yeah, in my head I'm like, oh man, I remember it just being so cool and like creepy and yeah, like they had a little more practical effects, which I've always enjoyed more. So that was like my memories and then I watched it the most recent time and I was like, oh, I did not like that at all. Like
Yeah.
I was really against it. And then I thought it was hilarious that Tony Shalhoub was even in it. And that was before I watched Monk. So I knew he had been in the Monk show, but I was like, Tony Shalhoub, like,
Yeah.
okay, random.
Right. I still think it's funny that he was the star.
It's still
I,
so random.
it is. It's still funny that he's the lead man in the movie. Not saying he's not a good actor. It is just very random.
It's yeah, like random is it feels like the appropriate word for what this is.
They're like, we need a
Um
character that's going to be like, I'm not leaving without my kids.
something, I don't know. I just feel like I'm like, did he really care about us kids? I don't know.
He didn't seem like he did. And then I was like, this all happened within 6 months. Like his wife just died 6 months ago and they've already moved that many times.
Yeah, they made it very confusing. Well, and also, I mean, okay, we're just gonna get into it, obviously. We talked about our last like I said, I watched it rather recently. So going into it, I knew it was gonna be bad again. But this time I'm looking at it through the lens of having to talk about it. It was the only difference for me. So yeah, first off, yeah, he's basically he's like, I am but a humble math teacher.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're supposed to be apparently just so poor.
I'm like, a teacher makes a livable salary.
Well, and just that also it was a fire, right? So like he would have got insurance. I understand his wife died and that's horrible, but why all of a sudden are they in like what seems to be massive debt along with it?
Right. They don't explain that unless it's like hospital bills, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that's it because they do show her in like a hospital gown. So yeah, maybe it's more of hospital bills. That would make more sense because I was just assuming died in the fire like immediately. Yes, they lost their place, but like, wouldn't you get like some kind of insurance money? Is what I would be assuming. So I'm
Right.
like, you're in an apartment. You can obviously afford a full-time nanny of some kind.
Yeah. I was
once
like,
again
maybe if
in
you don't have
in
a nanny.
once again in monk world, he can somehow be really poor but afford full-time help.
Yeah, I guess because people just feel sorry for him and want to spend their whole life with him and get underpaid. I don't get it.
It's,
I
it's
don't feel sorry for nobody that much.
So yeah, that's what we're starting out with. Is yeah, you
Especially when
get
his
this.
daughter is like the same age as the nanny, so she can't just watch the kid.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, she is a full-grown teenager. Why wouldn't she be watching the younger brother? Like I don't understand why this woman is here at all.
No.
Um yeah, because that's what they set you up with is the intro, fire, mommy's dead, destitute, they live in a small apartment. Oh no. I just like to think of just how privileged their lives were beforehand, where the thought of like basically four people in one regular size apartment is supposed to be just far too cramped. like
Poverty. Yeah. It's like
like
dire
people live like that
straits.
all the time. Like this is a normal environment for
Yeah.
most people.
You don't have your home alone house anymore, so now you have to live like the rest of us.
It's so funny. Um, I'm sorry, but even before that, we get a cold open where you see like SWAT Ghostbusters is what I called them.
Yeah, and no explanation. Oh, duh. I guess I could get out my notes. No explanation whatsoever. What the fuck's going on? Like we're supposed to know what these people are doing, who
Yeah,
these people
the
are.
intro is very immediate, abrupt. Like before we even find out Tony Shalhoub intro and all of that. That's like when the actual credits start. The pre-credits, where Matthew Lillard and you're at like a junkyard, and they're just kind of throwing a little exposition at you. And basically they're capturing ghosts, and then you run into what appears to be ghost right activists. Um
Right. Right. And I'm like, okay,
so
so they want to free the ghost so they can continue to kill people because in this world, ghosts can kill people. Ghosts are
well
like
I
serial killers.
Well, I think though what the activists are wanting to be able to help them just move on to another side and not be on this plane at all to even kill
Okay.
people. Like I think ultimately. Um but the rich guy, what's his name? Cyrus?
Yeah.
Cyrus, he is wanting to capture ghosts. He's figured out a way to capture them and suspend them in like containers. So you don't know why, but right now, but it was just basically chaos in the junkyard, and this ghost is really mean and he is killing people. So shit has gone down in the junkyard. It appears that Cyrus is even dead himself. And Matthew Lillard, we kind of figure out that he is on this team. I don't really know if we know he's completely like a kind of psychic medium, ghost guy or whatever. We just know he's there. And he's doing his Matthew Lillard thing, very much
Mm-hmm.
of that era.
The
Um,
annoying Matthew Lillard thing.
And this is what sets us up to get to, yeah, we intro Tony Shalhoub, find out his whole spiel. And basically you find out that that was his uncle Cyrus.
Mm-hmm.
And they just happened to inherit this amazing house because he was just so buku rich. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is too good to be true. And I like how the lawyer who is auto shady. And just FYI, apparently in the original 13 Ghosts from the 1960s, it was the lawyer was like, I think a little more of the just bad guy in general, or like the victim kind of. It was a little different. There wasn't like this dad character and all this other kind of stuff in
Okay.
the way it was. It was like a whole family. Um, so I just thought that was cool. By the way, it is on Tubi, so I do think I'm gonna watch the original.
Hmm. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so Yeah, I love that the lawyer though, when they're showing him, I guess like it's supposed to be a video, will or whatever. And the background, like wallpaper, is like all the weird, like ghost zodiac looking shit. Like, like
I didn't
that's not
catch that,
weird
I
at
guess.
all. Yeah, it's like his computer wallpaper. I'm like, this doesn't
Oh,
look
his computer
weird.
wallpaper.
Yeah, yeah. I just thought that was really funny that they had that little detail in there.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. I was like, I really don't remember it having like spells and witchcraft in it. And I didn't realize that was a part of it.
Yes, it is to an extent. That's where this
That's
film
where it
just
would have
kind
been
of,
cool.
yeah, it falls apart because it just skims. It feels like just barely skims the edge of these kind of ideas, but it doesn't really like bite into them. It just teases you a little bit, and it's like, no, but we're not going to actually do
I feel like they should
that.
remake this into a series
Definitely, I could
and then
see
they could
this
go into it more.
being way cooler if it was something like that. Or even, I don't know, I feel like the actual catching of the ghosts would have been a cooler story than
Then
this
trying to get out of this
bullshit.
house. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like you had all these good ideas and this is the one you went with. Like this is the
Yeah.
route you chose to
This
take.
is how do we end here is what I want to know. All this
Yeah,
time, effort, creativity, backstory, set, design,
and then it just
actors,
floundered
and then you
because
get that.
we get rushed in the beginning. Like I said, it's a lot of like exposition almost, or a lot of stuff going on, and it's not really quite explained, which would be okay, but like I don't know. It just isn't that great, like done that well in the beginning.
No, in that beginning set looks like you're on lot at Universal Studios.
Yeah.
Like we're getting on the King Kong ride.
Yeah. And then it takes us to this amazing house that does look super cool
Right.
and just really interesting. And you're like, oh,
I feel like the beginning scene they forgot about and then they had to like hurry up and film it before they went to print. They're like, oh shit, we gotta show him dying.
yeah. So Matthew Lillard's character shows up disguising himself as like an electrical man or something, ends up getting into
Electrical
the
man.
house, but doesn't the lawyer knows who he is, right? I feel like wasn't the lawyer like at the junkyard? Or I guess he wasn't. I guess that was the activist people.
Yeah, I think it was
Um,
activist. Who, by the way, the female activist that shows up
mhm.
later, she was in Matilda
Oh my gosh, she
as
was.
an as teacher Honey. What was her name? It was Honey, wasn't it?
I think so. Or Miss Honey, or
Miss
yeah, something
Honey.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
she
so
was Miss
funny.
Honey.
Well, she's a bit of a bitch in this one.
And a traitor.
I know. And again, they show us very little of her, but obviously she's like important enough to be shown. So you're like, okay, I guess I gotta remember this lady.
And then she
Um,
ends up getting with the bad guy in the end. But when? Because at the
yeah,
junkyard,
at the junkyard, her
she had a different boyfriend.
partner was killed, but I don't know, yeah, had she been working with Cyrus before or after that? And I think they might have explained it, but honestly, I fell asleep through this movie twice, dude. Not not even gonna sugarcoat it. Totally full fell asleep twice while watching it.
Like, it was
And
that boring.
it's so boring. Like I said, they have the setup where you think, okay, something's gonna actually happen. But then it's just a lot of them running around in this glass fucking house and not a lot actually going on.
No, and then like there was only technically like three deaths.
Yeah, there's not even like the junkyard scene sets you up for like I feel like you are thinking when you're watching it, oh, this is gonna be like a pretty brutal like
Gory.
ghost movie. Yeah, like almost
Mhm.
like a gory ghost movie, which like you said, sometimes it's kind of hard to be afraid of them. So maybe if you gore it up, maybe it makes them scary.
Right.
Um but no, we get like the one okay, the lawyer death was cool. with him being like chopped in half essentially.
Yeah, sliced
And
in
then
half
everything's glass. Like you're like, ooh,
horizontally.
yeah. And that was early enough too to where you still think, okay, okay, okay. Like this is gonna be like real cool. And then it just kind of like peters out and
And
you
I
get a
felt kind of
little
felt bad
more.
for her, the girl ghost that killed the lawyer. I was like, I kind of feel sorry for her because she got in her bathtub and was like, you know, wrote out I'm sorry and was like, here I am dead, like trying to just be a ghost there. And then Shannon Elizabeth had to go in there and ruin it all.
I know. Well, I think that I'm sorry was more of her recreating her death
That's what I'm saying.
circumstances,
Like, I
right?
don't think that
Yeah.
she was trying
Okay.
to like
Yeah.
actually hurt anybody. I was like, I
Oh,
kind of
well,
feel
she
bad
walked
for
him
her.
into it. Yeah, well, I think the ghosts still kind of have a little bit of a minds of their own. So yeah, I don't think she was necessarily like evil, evil like some of the others. But either way, oh, and another fun fact, I don't know, again, I wrote this stuff down. Sometimes I feel like my stuff isn't syncing right. Because she was the one that took the longest to do in makeup, actually.
Huh. Because of the titties.
Yeah. I I think it was just because she was supposed to be still the most still like her own body and just have the gash wounds. So that took more detail and stuff. Because like
Mm.
the other people, I think they had full on like made prosthetics that were just put on them every day. I think hers took more of the actual like handwork, I guess. It wasn't like, oh, here, put this like foam vest thing on that, looks like you have nails stuck
Right.
in you. So
Put this
uh,
bear trap on your head.
yeah. Uh,
Which at the time
so
when that movie came out, that I thought was so fucking scary.
it was creepy though. And that's in the beginning, like I said, you get a little anticipation. Ooh, you do find out the ghosts are in the basement. And then kind of Matthew Lillard eventually lets the cat out of the bag, kind of thing. And we get to know kind of who these ghosts are a little bit. They do break it down that there were 12 of them or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, there's the Latin on the walls. You realize it's containment spells. Like, so yeah, you think all of it sounds really cool in theory. But again, it's really just them walking around. And the ghosts never even really leave the basement, do they?
No, I not that I recall. Because they kept going back and forth between, oh, the spells are there, and the spells aren't there. And the Matthew Lillard death scene.
Pointless. It was stupid.
It was so stupid.
It was, yeah, it was just ridiculous because the whole thing is in the beginning, they're like, "Ooh, we'll separate him some, everyone wants to check out the school house, yada yada." And of course, the little boy goes in the basement first. And then you don't see him through like the rest of the movie. They're all
Mhm.
supposed to be basically looking for him as the whole thing. Yeah, and then the daughter has a run in with the ghost, the jackal, and you realize, oh, they have to look through the glasses to see it. So again, that was a cool concept though of like knowing, oh, we can't see these ghosts unless we have these glasses on,
Yeah, that would be
and
terrifying.
making it to where, yeah, there's a limited amount of glasses, like again, they had all the tools to create something really suspenseful, or to really keep you guessing or on the edge of your seat, and it just didn't deliver. The ghosts were not cool enough
Right.
this time around for me to justify this. Um, Even the idea of like, ooh, the black zodiac, like, ooh, a dark side of the zodiac, and then being like certain archetypes and all this. Again, very cool idea, but they just like skim it by you.
To where you're like, why though? Like, why do you need
Yeah.
these archetypes? Why specifically these?
And then and then they shoehorn in
The
little Miss
devil.
Ghost activist lady. And yeah, oh, I was talking about her because at this point the house has been moving and shifting. Like they established that early as well, and they can't get out, and they're trying to find the kids and all that, yada yada. And
Yeah.
somehow this lady shows up, and no one fucking actually questions it. They're just
Hmm.
like, oh, she said she came in when the house shifted.
She's
How
here to
the
help
fuck
us.
she did that? She can still go through glass? Like,
Right.
even though the house is shifting, it didn't like,
Create openings.
yeah, like I don't know. I was just like, how stupid are you?
They're like, oh,
But
okay, makes sense. And she's like, don't bother to look for it. It's not there anymore.
like,
You're like, oh, okay.
convenient because
I
she
don't
was
think it was
already in the
really the
house.
exterior walls that were moving.
Yeah, no, she was already in the house waiting on you motherfuckers.
Right. Because she works for the bad guy.
Yes.
But I'm still
And
confused. Did he kill himself on purpose so he could become a ghost in there?
no, he wasn't actually dead.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, then they give you the big reveal later.
Yeah, it
Again,
made it
because this is
you thought he was a ghost in there at first. Okay, yeah,
you sat through probably like 35 minutes of just kind of boredom. Like I said, I fucking fell asleep because they're just again just running kind of around this glass like basement area. Oh, a little bit of a ghost, but no one's actually dying or really
yeah.
seeming to get like super hurt.
Except for
Besides
Matthew
Matthew
Lillard.
Lillard and the
And it's because
lawyer.
he kind of did it to himself.
I know exactly.
You sacrificed yourself and he didn't have to.
Yeah. Um, so at that point you get another like expo dump and it's her basically explaining though what is going on and what Cyrus's plan was with just the guise of oh but I'm trying to stop it. I'm trying to get them to pass. And she tells him what he's got to do. She basically lets the cat out of the bag as well that wasn't Cyrus killed his wife is what is discovered. And
Oh, he set the fire?
yeah,
Okay.
like his intention all along was he knew he had this, I guess he knew his nephew really loved his wife. I don't know. See, this is again, they don't kind of like they tell
Oh,
you a
but
little
they
bit.
needed his wife for one of the ghosts.
Yeah, because she could be the something lover or whatever, or
Right.
wife or something,
Somebody that was
um
truly loved.
and then the whole thing is a setup all along just to get that sweet, sweet Shaloub.
It was
Because
all for
essentially
Shaloub.
he needs to be the 13th ghost,
Hmm.
in that he needs to basically sacrifice himself, I guess. But
For his
then they don't
children.
really for his children. Because then now the children are in there was one fancy room that had like all these spinny things, and you find out, of course, later that oh, it was supposed to be as a ghost or activating or whatever
Because
release.
it's like just like the what is it called? Event Horizon. Like spinny
Oh,
things always equal hell. Spinny things take you straight to hell.
straight to hell.
Spinny
Event
things.
Horizon.
And then the
um,
way the villain just got chopped up through there.
well, even before that, so like I said, the girl was like pretending to be helpful, but then Cyrus does appear, which you believe at first it is supposed to, it kind of alludes you to be like, oh, is it just his ghost? Like, is he
Yeah.
also, or was he supposed to be the 13th ghost? But from the girl, you basically find out because you're like, what is all of this for anyway? Well, he's basically collecting all these ghosts of this type of zodiac basically to harness their energy, which can then be used to basically it makes the house itself and created it's called the Oculus and it's supposed to be like the eye of hell. And
Hmm.
so if he harnesses all them, he can like
So he
control the eye
can
of hell.
and then predict the future.
And then do what exactly? Yeah, like
Predict the future is what it sounded like they were like what he was going for. And I was like, and you think the Eye of Hell is going to allow you to do anything with it? I don't think you can
I,
control it.
I guess well no, I think it's supposed to be that he would just be powerful and be able to like not necessarily even control it or I'm sorry, see it, but control it as well, is what I was thinking.
Okay. Control the
'Cause
future, you mean?
maybe, I don't know.
Okay. You're like, what are you gonna do with it when you open it? Like what's the end game
I
here, guy?
I know. Again, the villain seems very like almost like a Bond villain,
Yeah.
where it's just he has
Money.
such a outlandish kind of, yeah, just silly, like, oh, I just want power for power or money for money, and it doesn't matter that. this could probably fuck up a bunch of stuff. Like that would probably fuck you over at the end of the day too.
Yeah, probably get
But
yourself killed in the process.
they
Like,
can't see that. The greed.
greed, blinded by greed, I guess. They're like, what's the ultimate taboo? Death.
Yeah. And so basically it ends in the cheesiest fucking way of like, I guess the mom ghost like helps them, and Tony Shalhoub's able to like miraculously jump through what the other guy couldn't. The other guy got sliced. Oh, and then
Exactly.
and then the girl activist was killed too when Cyrus and her meet. When he's like, "Oh, did you help get?" They're trying to set up Shalhoub, as we mentioned, and then he lets the house just like squish her to death,
Yeah. And I'm like,
and then that's
but why did I don't understand how she couldn't get out? Like, why did she let the house squish her to death?
I think he was like blocking her exit to get out of it because the house starts alternating or whatever. And
Hmm.
I don't know. And then they still kind of don't explain like why was she helping him?
I don't know. She was in
Or
love
like
with
I
him
said,
because
I
she
think
like
they
made out with him.
do. Yeah, it was weird. I
And I was like, okay, like I get that she probably like whatever let the other guy on that she was with in the beginning, but that's not like they didn't explain any of that. It's kind of like, oh, surprise, there she was in on it
it
all
just seems like
along.
weird motivations. Yeah,
Yeah.
like why didn't she just work with him to begin with? Why would she need to be
With
secretive
a
anyway? Like yeah, with
yeah,
these
with a
other
protagonist or
like
whatever that's gonna be
yeah,
end up being killed.
they don't know you anyway from Adam. Like, just
Yeah.
show up later. Like, I don't, yeah, it just all seems like a weird setup for no reason.
Right. Like
Like
way
it
to
gets a little
complicate things.
convoluted. Yeah, overcomplicated. Like, you had all this cool stuff, and then you go with this overcomplicated bullshit that doesn't have any interest in comparison to like the cool other stuff with the ghosts and the backstory, any of that. Like, they could have just done so much different things. I hated this one. It was
Yeah, it was not good at
This is
all.
definitely, yeah, the last time I will ever watch this movie.
It was promising. Like it started out promising with the gore of the lawyer and at
Yeah,
the beginning
exactly.
with like the death of Cyrus and jump scares. But then there was only, like I said, there was only three kills, including the villain. And then
Yeah, and it even got to the point where the ghost reveals weren't even scary. It
no,
almost
they were
felt
just
like a
kind of like,
music video or
yeah,
something.
right. It did feel like a music video. Definitely 2001. And the jackal, the ghost, that
Hmm.
one was still I still could get behind that. Like that was still kind of creepy the way it, like ran on the floor and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But when it came after Shannon Elizabeth and I was like, oh, it just so happened to like claw her shirt open so her titty fell out.
I know that
I was
poor
like,
Shannon
really?
Elizabeth, man. I feel so like actually bad for her now that I'm an adult and thinking back to that
Hmm.
time. I'm like, all they ever used her for in all those films in the early 2000s was just to rip her clothes off.
Yeah, just a piece of ass.
Because I'm like, she actually is like, she tries her hardest in these roles.
Yeah,
Like
she does. I mean, she gives her
she's
all.
not a bad actress. Yeah. The girl who played the nanny, that was actually a rapper named Raw Digga. And she
Oh,
also
okay.
sung the song at the end.
Oh
They
man,
did
I don't
like
remember
a
it
LL
now.
Cool J. Yeah, it was
Right.
not good. It was not good. It
It
was
was not
not.
good.
No, no. And I believe this was the only thing she was ever involved with, movie wise.
She was fine. She was fine in it.
Yeah, I just don't get why her character was even there.
No, I mean, I think they just needed some kind of comedic effect, I guess.
That's exactly what it was,
But
but
I was
I'm
like, you
like,
already
not
had Matthew
really.
Lillard. You already had Tony Shalhoub's kind of comedian.
Well, he was not
Obviously,
funny in this movie either.
no,
He
he
was like
wasn't.
Tony
He was,
Shalhoub felt checked out in this one too. That's another
yeah,
gripe I have with it.
he
I'm
definitely
like,
felt
this
running through the
is
motions.
yeah.
Still don't know
So,
why they chose Tony Shalhoub either.
because like
Like,
I said, he's just really good at playing a widower.
they're like, we need
You
monk, but
really,
not monk.
you just look at him and you're like, your wife's dead, right?
And she almost
Like,
kind of resembled the woman that played his wife in
I
Monk.
know, Jan.
She almost resembled Jan a little bit.
Trudy, Jan, whatever you want to.
Yeah, Trudy Jan.
Trudy Jan. So Yeah, I think Shalhoub definitely hit it big with Monk, because if he would have continued on this trajectory, there's no way.
Right. Not, I mean, he would have had trouble finding his forte.
For sure, for sure. So, well, that was 13 Ghosts, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry it wasn't better.
um, you don't have to apologize to me.
Yeah,
I didn't have to pay for it, so I didn't really care. I just had
I
to
knew
hook
what we
up
were
my
getting
DVD
into
player.
though. Where I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
watched it not too long ago. It was garbage, but I'm happy to talk about what garbage it is.
Yeah, it was pretty steamy.
I know. Said I just
And
wish
it's and
that
I don't
back slid
remember it that
faster.
way either. That's what's so funny.
I
I
know. So it's what time does to your memory.
kind of figured it was going to be cheesy because like it was 2001 and
Yeah.
from rewatching some of these movies now, I'm like, oh, so did anything hold? Did anything hold up at all?
Like, not
Not
much.
much, not much. This one definitely didn't. The
Yeah.
okay, my favorite parts I think were like I thought the glasses thing was still pretty cool, even though that
Uh-huh.
wasn't
Yeah.
an original idea because it was in the
Mhm. Yeah.
original. Thought that was cool. I thought the jackal was still cool. I thought this was funny. I guess I got this one mixed up with House on Haunted Hill. And I was like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, because Tony Shalhoub does sacrifice himself, right? This is what I remembered. And then
Oh.
he's the one that lets him out of the house with the key, his ghost. I was like, oh no, that was Chris Kattan in the House on Haunted Hill. But my memory was it was Tony Shalhoub was the ghost letting them out of the house the whole
Completely
time
melded
until
it.
the end. I
It's
was like, wait a minute, he doesn't
when's Tony Shalhoub gonna
sacrifice
die?
himself. Yeah, and then I was like, oh yeah, it was Chris Kattan.
Oh, that's great. And as always, you can find us at Film Gazers on all the social medias and on Discord. We are the Film Gazers podcast community. Jessica has actually been posting a little bit. I have not. Um,
I, if you're interested, I posted my spooky season watch list and my cozy November watch list on
ooh,
the
perfect.
discords.
And I am going to work on mine this week, because you did even text me when you were working on yours. You're like, oh, you could work on one too. And I was like, yeah, I should do that. And then I never did. But I also was watching a lot of movies. So
Hmm.
there we go. So I'll have to work on that list. And also, I don't believe we've mentioned it, but I think if you are basically interested or involved enough with the podcast or with what we're watching, I will post, I think, my profile in the Discord of my Letterboxd, because that's
Hmm.
also a great app. I think most movie lovers pretty familiar with that one. So you can follow my personal one and see what I've been watching too. I don't go real hard in my reviews on Letterboxd too often, because I figure that's what we do this for.
Right.
And then if it's something we've covered on here, I just kind of like check out Film Gazers.
Check out my film gazers.
Or I like to keep them a little short and sweet. Sometimes I just give it star ratings. But either way, it's fun always to check out. Any other social media information?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of right now.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think so. I want to make sure I wasn't forgetting nothing. Well, time to hit the dusty trail.
Until next time.
Later,
Later,
taters.
taters. Nailed it.
Nailed it.